My name is Adam J. Mann. I'm an aspiring filmmaker. From Oregon, originally, but now I'm living in Tacoma, Washington. This is my life. Today's video blog comes to you from Pearl Street, where I am walking to the store to get cheese. I like cheese. I have now in 2 blogs promised further stories from Christian and the Stranger delivery route. The first story comes from my first day working on the Stranger. We were delivering into this one bar, and the bartender comes out and starts telling Christian about this girl he met from filling out a sex survey in that issue of the Stranger.
Told me he took the sex survey in the Stranger this past week, and that a gal also at the bar and that on this particular night took the same sex survey, and they exchanged the surveys, and they discovered that both of them had a whole lot in common, and they really liked what the other person had, and so they've been, in the last week, they've dated 3 times, and he just seems really, really happy. You know, really tickled. And I told him, I said, yeah, you better go for it, because it just doesn't happen that way. Life don't happen that way.
Now, the second story comes from the fact that we deliver to Planned Parenthood. At each Planned Parenthood, we have to add this little notification sheet. The reasoning behind this comes from the fact that when the Stranger was first delivered to each of the Planned Parenthoods around Tacoma, which they asked for, there were problems. You see, when it rains, deliverers put the little plastic bags around the newspapers.
Because of the rainy weather, they were putting them in garbage-type bags, trash bags, so they wouldn't get wet. Well, a lot of those trash bags were opaque. They were either that real white opaque, or they were black.
So picture this. Opaque plastic bags in front of the door of various Planned Parenthood offices. That's right, boys and girls, they thought they were bombs.
And the first week that they did that, it caused something like 8 or 9 SWAT team, SWAT team deployments at different Planned Parenthood offices.
So they introduced these little identifying sheets of paper. That didn't stop the problem. Why, you ask? It seems that some of the drivers didn't understand that you have to put the identifying sheet on the outside of the plastic bag. They would rubber band the sheet to the bundle of papers, and then they would put it inside the bag and put it in front of the door. Needless to say, this led to more bomb scares.
I thought it was hilarious when they called me and said, no, you gotta start putting those on every bundle, because we got people who don't seem to get it, that it has to be on the outside of the bag if you put it in a bag, not on the bundle inside the bag. So it took them a couple of weeks to get it all straightened out.
Anyway, I'm approaching the store now, so I'm going to turn the camera off until I get outside. I have cheese. Behold the power of cheese. Curiously enough, I discovered it's very hard to find cheese when you're not actually looking at the signs in the store. The third and final story I have to tell is, the most detailed, so I'm gonna wait until I get home to tell it, okay? So now that I'm home, I have access to a bit more information, courtesy of the Webernet. This story has to do with a bridge in Seattle called the George Washington Memorial Bridge, but everyone seems to call it the Aurora Bridge. Now, Christian told me this story, and then I came home and researched it a little more myself. So let's set the stage. The date is November 27th, 1998. Imagine you are sitting on a bus, and you are just about to cross the Aurora Bridge. Suddenly, a distressed man walks up to the driver and shoots them in the arm. The bus swerves across 2 lanes and over the side of the bridge. Now, at some point amidst all this mess, the shooter turns the gun on himself as well. Meanwhile, the bus is still tumbling over the side of the bridge. The bus doesn't land in the water. No, the bus lands in the neighborhood of Fremont, on top of an apartment building. The really amazing thing? Only 3 people died. The bus driver, the shooter, and 1 passenger. The motives of the shooter, a 43-year-old named Herman Garfield Cool, were never determined. However, it is interesting to note that the Aurora Bridge is known as the Suicide Bridge. Apparently, a lot of people seem to like using it to commit suicide. MSNBC reported last January that workers in office buildings below the bridge are kinda upset that so many people are jumping right in plain view of their offices. You can see how that would be kinda disturbing. Most of the information for that last story was double-checked on historylink.org. That's right, the same historylink.org created by Walt Crowley.
Hey, wait a minute, Walt Crowley, didn't you mention him a few blogs back?
Yes, I did.
So it's a back reference.
It's a back reference.
Oh my god, everything is so connected!
Well, that's all I've got for you today, so until next time, fare thee well.
You know, an interesting phenomenon is that people will look at you strange if you're talking to a camera, but not if you're talking on a hands-free telephone. Which means that the crazy people who just talk to themselves with no visible device are A-OK.